Breaking tonight, details on a horrific mass shooting in Louisiana with 8 children now dead. Tonight, the massive police response. The crime scene spanning 3 homes. The suspect killed in a police chase after hijacking a car. What we're learning about a motive when we take you live to the scene. A major escalation in the Mideast. Just in, President Trump saying the Navy has struck and seized an Iranian tanker trying to cross the U.S. blockade. Questions now about the ceasefire in place and maybe in jeopardy. But a U.S. team heading in for a second round of talks tomorrow. Will Iran even show up? And is a peace deal even possible? All of it as the president is under pressure. Our new numbers showing his approval rating hitting a new low over the war and rising prices. Also breaking tonight, video capturing the moments after a plane crashed into a yard. What witnesses saw as it went down. Weather whiplash from feeling like summer to snow in some spots. Even, look at that, hail the size of quarters in the south. Millions under alerts for this cold snap. Our new look at Jeffrey Epstein's massive New Mexico property. The questions over why it wasn't searched sooner and the frustration about what some see as missed opportunities for justice.
I believe the first cover-up was in 2019 with me.
What we're learning now about Zorro Ranch and its future. The hero principal who stopped a school shooter, now crowned prom king by the students he saved. The half-marathon rematch between robots and humans, with some stunned runners stopped in their tracks. And there's good news tonight about this brave cancer patient completing a marathon of his own.
This is NBC Nightly News with Hallie Jackson.
Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news out of Louisiana and the 8 children killed in a mass shooting in Shreveport early today. Police saying they responded to a domestic disturbance call with 10 people shot, the victims as young as a year old. Investigators sounding shaken by what they saw, calling the crime scene extensive, spanning multiple locations, some of them you see here, and the suspect shot and killed by police after trying to get away in a stolen car. Ryan Chandler has made his way to the scene and starts us off tonight in Shreveport.
Tonight, heartbreak in Louisiana.
It's a terrible morning in Shreveport, and we all mourn.
After a shocking morning of gun violence.
Right now, we have at least 10 individuals that were struck by gunfire last night in a domestic disturbance. 8 of these individuals are deceased.
The violence breaking out just after 6 in the morning here. Authorities say they responded to a domestic call spread between 2 residences where they found 10 people shot.
The ranges of the decedents are from 1 year of age to approximately 14 years of age. All of the deceased in this case are juveniles.
After that, police say the lone suspected gunman carjacked a vehicle and drove to neighboring Bossier City, leading police on a chase that ended in an exchange of gunfire.
At which point in time, Shreveport police officers did discharge their firearm, and that individual is deceased.
Families devastated.
To wake up and to hear this kind of news that someone would shoot 8 children, 8 innocent children, it's just unreal.
Authorities have yet to identify the deceased shooter or any of the victims, but say that some of the children are believed to be children of the deceased gunman. No officers were injured in the pursuit, which spanned several miles and 4 different locations across the area.
I think about this community and what this community has lost. And I don't have the words to give you, and I'm sorry.
Tonight, the people of Shreveport grappling with an unthinkable loss.
Incredibly difficult for so many. Ryan is live at the scene for us tonight. Ryan, what else do we know about 2 other people who were shot but who survived?
Well, Hallie, you hear the music and the prayers here at the scene tonight as neighbors and community members stand here together to pull for those 2 surviving victims who are still in the hospital tonight. Hallie, this scene has transformed throughout the day, from one of incomprehensible tragedy behind me to now in front of me, one of worship tonight. Hallie.
Ryan Chandler, thank you. Also tonight, a major escalation in the Middle East, with President Trump late today saying the military has hit and seized an Iranian tanker. Questions now on what that means for the ceasefire in the region, even as the U.S. is getting ready for a second round of peace talks tomorrow. Molly Hunter is tracking those late developments from Tel Aviv.
Tonight, President Trump announcing the U.S. seized and boarded an Iranian cargo ship today. Posting on social media, the 900-foot Tuska tried to evade the U.S. blockade. The president said the USS Spruance warned the tanker, then blew a hole in the engine room, writing, "We have full custody of the ship and are seeing what's on board. No confirmation from Iranian officials." But this comes just days before the current ceasefire agreement expires, and tonight the White House tells NBC News U.S. negotiators are headed back to Pakistan tomorrow. The team will include Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Vice President J.D. Vance, according to two senior administration officials, despite President Trump telling other news outlets earlier that the VP was not traveling. But at this hour, it appears Iran hasn't agreed to show up. State News reporting tonight that any confirmation of a second round of negotiations in Islamabad is not true. On Sunday, the Strait of Hormuz remained largely closed after Iran imposed its own restrictions on the vital waterway, allegedly opening fire on two Indian flagships yesterday. In response to that, President Trump called Iran's actions a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. Meanwhile, a separate tenuous ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon is holding. NBC's Yasmin Vesuvian is in Beirut.
Here in Lebanon, it is day 3 of the ceasefire, which is holding for now. Many exhausted by this war, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst.
But ahead of the possible negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, President Trump once again threatened to wipe out civilian infrastructure if the two sides didn't strike a deal. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, backed up the president on Meet the Press.
We have a long history of taking down bridges, power plants, and other infrastructure that is powering Iran's military, and they have a long history of conflating civilian and military assets.
Molly is joining us now from Tel Aviv. And Molly, on that intercepted Iranian ship, it had been sanctioned by the U.S., right?
Yeah, Hallie, that's correct. And President Trump says it's because of previous illegal activity. But Hallie, these were the first U.S. shots fired of any kind since the ceasefire started. Hallie?
Molly Hunter live for us in Tel Aviv. Thanks. The new developments tonight coming as the president faces new pressure here at home, with numbers now showing his approval rating sinking. Julie Sirkin is at the White House for us tonight. Julie, good evening.
Hallie, good evening to you. The war in Iran is dragging President Trump's approval rating down. Just 37% of American adults approve of his performance. In December, that number was 42%. But check this out. 2/3 of Americans say they do not approve of Trump's handling of the war. The economy also a major factor. The situation in Iran is causing oil and gas prices to soar and inflation to spike. Just 13% strongly approve of the economy under this president. Now, all of this is creating new pressure for the White House to quickly reach a deal with Iran to end the war and start bringing those prices down. The next 48 hours are critical. Hallie?
Julie Sirkin, thank you. To breaking news out of Florida now, where dramatic new video shows a plane just barely missing a home in a deadly crash. Here's Dana Griffin.
Oh, my God.
This was the terrifying moment in Wesley Chapel, Florida. Christina Galbiati witnessed a plane go down in her neighborhood.
It was loud. It sounded mechanical. It sounded rumbling, just like a gurgle. Everything seemed fine, but then I saw it curve and then just go straight down.
Her family ran over to help, but there wasn't much she could do. This was the aftermath. The plane crashing into a neighbor's backyard, the pilot killed.
How would you describe the wreckage?
Ash, just ash and rubble.
The NTSB now investigating what went wrong after the Cessna departed a nearby flight center 25 miles north of Tampa and within walking distance to the neighborhood where, over the years, other crashes have occurred, like this deadly May 2020 incident. But what stands out for Christina is the selfless maneuver she says the pilot took to avoid hitting homes.
I saw a heroic moment where a split-second decision of he knew he was coming in fast and needed to do something.
The pilot's final seconds before impact may have averted greater loss. Dana Griffin, NBC News.
Millions of people across half the country tonight are bracing for weather whiplash under freeze alerts, with chances of April snow even after that record-breaking stretch that felt like summer. Stephen Romo reports.
Tonight, a sudden blast of snow and freezing temperatures hitting the Northeast. Upstate New York getting a wintry mix in the middle of spring. 81 million Americans in the Midwest and Northeast now under frost and freeze alerts through Tuesday morning. A Sunday morning surprise for folks in New Hampshire. The cold front bringing quarter-size hail to Texas. And 48-mile-per-hour winds to Pennsylvania. Sending umbrellas flying and putting quite the damper on the Pirates game in Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, the Plains and upper Midwest cleaning up from dozens of tornadoes this weekend as they now brace for a freeze. Back on the East Coast, millions of Americans who just felt an early summer sizzle now getting a shock to the system as the cold makes a comeback.
Stephen is joining us now from New York. And Stephen, as chilly as it is tonight, it's going to get even colder soon, right?
Yeah, Hallie, it looks like the coldest night that we're expecting this week will come tomorrow night for the Northeast and New England. Widespread freeze alerts already in effect. Meanwhile, the forecast does have a warm up for the rest of the week, although not quite to those 80s and 90s that we saw last week. Hallie?
Stephen Romo, thank you. To an NBC News update on the Jeffrey Epstein case and the investigation into Epstein's sprawling ranch in New Mexico, where survivors have described horrific abuse. Now, some hope after years of missed opportunities, there may be new hope for justice. What used to be Zorro Ranch is off a two-lane road going the back way between Albuquerque and Santa Fe, right on the edge of the radio signal from AM station KIVA.
I'm Eddie Aragon, the Rock of Talk.
Eddie Aragon has been hosting his show here for 14 years.
We've been covering the Epstein stuff since inception. A lot of people with concern were picking up the phone and calling me with various tips or ideas.
One of those tips, an unsigned email, came in late 2019.
The big part of the email that really impacted my decision to call the FBI is the fact that you had mention of two women buried in the hills outside Zorro Ranch.
By that point, Jeffrey Epstein had been dead for months.
Tonight, a billionaire, once connected with some of the most powerful figures in the world, arrested.
After his arrest earlier that year in July, investigations into Epstein's sexual abuse ensnared his other properties. But the FBI never searched Zorro Ranch and its 26,000-square-foot mansion Epstein built overlooking the desert, with a pool, tall fireplaces and chandeliers, an opulent library. According to documents released by the DOJ, federal investigators told a top FBI official, "At this time, we don't have probable cause for a search." Do you think the feds should have searched the ranch back in 19?
Absolutely. In fact, that was why we gave them evidence.
Hector Balderas was the New Mexico Attorney General who had opened his own investigation into Epstein.
They were contacted by the New York DOJ, and they asked us to stop interviewing some of the survivors that we were both targeting. They didn't want to create duplicate testimony and potentially put at risk the case.
Did that seem reasonable to you?
It's very common. You pick who's got the bigger hammer and you work together.
What was unusual, he says, is how federal prosecutors then went dark instead of sharing information later that could have helped New Mexico bring state charges. He only found out about the unsubstantiated tip Eddie Aragon reported, for example, when the DOJ started releasing its Epstein files last year.
I believe the first cover-up was in 2019 with me.
The former Justice Department official who helped lead the DOJ's Epstein investigation at the time did not respond to our request for comment. And a current DOJ spokesperson says if new investigations uncover potential federal crimes, we stand ready to work closely with our law enforcement partners to prosecute. Epstein's former ranch is right past this fence here. His house is up on that ridgeline. But in the shadow of the front gate, people have put up signs. They've posted pictures, trying to keep the focus on the survivors and the investigations. Rachel Benavidez grew up in New Mexico and remembers the first time driving into Zorro at the age of 22.
There was a sense of fear. There was a sense of isolation.
Newly certified as a massage therapist, she says she met Epstein a couple months later and was sexually assaulted by him repeatedly.
When his face was, all over the news, it was like, oh my God, it was like a visceral response. I think I cried for, 2 days. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was the only one.
Does it feel like there were missed chances to hold him accountable?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Now the state of New Mexico is on its own hunt for the truth. The attorney general there ordered a search of the property in March, and the New Mexico State House unanimously greenlighting a bipartisan truth commission this spring to investigate.
That's what the Truth Commission's about. They're looking at this open space and they're saying something more happened here on this land.
Sky and Amanda Roberts offered to meet us near the ranch, where their sister, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who died by suicide last year, was trafficked and assaulted by Epstein for years, later becoming one of his most prominent accusers.
We believe you. We hear you.
Many other survivors crediting her bravery for giving them courage to come forward. Now a cross bearing Virginia's name stands just outside the ranch entrance.
It's really hard to look at that gate and think that that's the gate my sister went through, like to the gates of hell.
Of course, some of the horrific things have happened here because look how far away this is from anyone. It almost gives an abuser this perception that I can do whatever I want here. And no one will know. You can scream as loud as you want and no one will hear you. And that's why it was so important for us to show up. This is another chapter that we must take a look at.
New Mexico investigators say they also want to see the DOJ's unredacted Epstein documents. No comment from the Justice Department on that. We'll have much more of our reporting on Zorro Ranch tomorrow on Today and on Hallie Jackson Now at 5 Eastern on NBC News Now, as well as online at NBCnews.com. Still ahead for us here tonight, several people hurt after gunfire erupted near the University of Iowa overnight, and the very special honor for a principal who saved his students from a school shooter. That's next. Back now with police in Iowa looking for whoever started shooting overnight near the University of Iowa. Take a look at some of these videos here showing big fights right before it happened. Then you've got people running for cover. 5 people, we understand, have been hurt, but no arrests so far. A couple in California getting a pretty big surprise when this pretty big hot air balloon landed right in the backyard. Look at that. The pilot brought it down there after running out of fuel when the wind died down. The homeowners say the unexpected visitors were very friendly. And an emotional moment in Oklahoma for the principal who tackled a gunman to save his students. Pauls Valley High School crowning Principal Kirk Moore prom king to honor his heroism. You see him there walking up to the stage, getting a bunch of high fives, cheers, the crown, of course. He took a bullet to the leg earlier this month when he jumped in to stop the attacker. We are back in a moment with who came out on top in the rematch race between humans and robots. Overseas now, the highly anticipated rematch, racing robots against humans, stopped some runners in their tracks today in China in more ways than one. Our Janice Mackey-Freyer reports from Beijing.
At a half marathon pitting Chinese humanoid robots beside real-life runners, it was the machines making huge strides. The winner, called Lightning, finishing the 13 miles in just 50 minutes, 26 seconds, breaking the human world record by nearly 7 minutes. Built by smartphone maker Honor, which swept the top 3 spots with their bots.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
It was a technological leap from last year's race.
This year, nearly half of the robots that are running are autonomous, meaning they're literally running on their own. The others are being controlled by people.
Even the human runners were impressed. The spectacle here speaks to a bigger race between China and the U.S. to develop machines that think and move like people.
You ready? Go.
China has more than 150 humanoid-making companies. That said, this public tech test was not without its setbacks. There were face plants near the starting line and at the finish, too, with some swerving and wobbling in between, suggesting humanoids aren't ready to totally take over quite yet. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Beijing.
When we come back, meet one teen battling cancer, completing an unexpected marathon of his own. That's next. Finally, there is good news tonight about one young athlete's refusal to let cancer slow him down.
My strength is greater than any struggle in front of me.
15-year-old Wesley Arujo is unstoppable. Here in the hallway at Boston Children's Hospital, he's determined to finish a race unlike any other.
I'm here to win, and I'm here to finish this battle as strong as I can.
The Massachusetts teen is battling leukemia. But the lifelong athlete had his eyes on another feat, turning his daily walks into something much bigger.
My physical trainer came in, and she was talking about like the Boston Marathon, and she goes, actually 552 laps around my pod is a marathon. And when she said that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this right away.
That's when Wesley got going, completing lap after lap and hundreds of trips around his hospital floor. The distance, the same length as the Boston Marathon, 26.2 miles.
You could give me cancer. You could give me chemotherapy, but I'm still not gonna stop.
He did his first marathon in just 6 days. And when he reached that final lap, the hospital floor becoming a finish line with cheers fit for a champion. Strength and resilience for the fighter who says he's never giving up. What would you say to people who've gone through what you've had to go through?
This is not the end. You have so much more to live for than you even imagine. Everybody's rooting for you. You got this. If you put your mind to it, you could do whatever you want to do in life.
Good advice for us all. And that is Nightly News for this Sunday. I'm Hallie Jackson. For all of us here at NBC, thanks for watching and have a great week.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.